Good morning, everybody. College football week 7, best bets and picks. I'm Mark Drumheller. I'm here with Dave Gleckner, and I hope you're ready for a massive college football slate. So many incredible games today, huge high profile conference matchups all the way down the board out of all the Power 5 conferences, and we are here to give you the best betting angles on each of them. I'm Mark Drumheller. I'm here with Dave Gleckner from Win Daily Sports. Dave, it gets no better. I woke up, the wind was behind my back. The leaves were on the ground. It just felt like college football today.
Yeah, it did, bud. I was out there early in the morning just getting ready. Had some things going on in the garage, fired up the TV. The games, the slate is just incredible. And to feel this and get this weather up here in the Northeast, and it smells it, it feels it, this is going to be a great day.
It's going to be phenomenal. And this is where, the season kind of hits its peak, I feel like, in the beginning. Like, one of the most, I think, fun months to bet on because, like, you really have enough data now. Like, we are past the halfway point. We are at week 7. Conference play is in full swing. So we're seeing common opponents, teams play teams that have, played the same type of teams yet, and teams really kind of into, who they are. And it's just a matter of this point of, like, how comfortable are you with them? We're seeing the landscape of, like, the Big 12 and the Pac-12, some of those conferences that had a lot of questions going into the season. That stuff's starting to, take shape. We're seeing some key battles. UCLA obviously making a big mark in the Pac-12. Huge matchup today we're going to talk about. But I can't wait to get into it. Going to be so much fun, these games. We're going to run it down. Guys, before we get started, though, hit the like button. Get your best bets in the comments, right? We want to hear what games you're playing. If you guys have any questions, but make sure you hit the like button, and help us out here over at the Sharp app. Sharp app doing great things. Links are below if you want to download the app and be a part of it. But Dave, I want to get right into the action today. So much stuff's going on. Injury news today. DeVito in for Illinois. I was kind of surprised. Cedric Tillman out for Tennessee. Yep. They're, prolific wide receiver. We're going to talk about that game first. I want to hit that one, but he's out. The safety's out too. The kid that got arrested, McCullough, I think his name was, or whatnot. He's out. So some key injuries for Tennessee, or key, inactives for Tennessee. So we're going to talk about that game as well. But the DeVito thing is interesting. I didn't think he would be in there. Leary out for NC State, right? All that stuff's going on. So, guys, we want to hear, what you're betting in the comments. Be a part of the action. Our guy Shady checking in, man. Philly homers. You know it, brother. Lot going on in Philly, man. Eagles are winning. Phillies are winning. Sixers haven't gotten started yet. They'll probably, not try at the end in the playoffs like they do every year. But, we'll root them on anyway. But lots of fun in being a Philadelphia fan right now. So, but let's stick with college football. Let's get it hammering. Eric, we got some Pac-12 stuff for you a little bit later. Don't worry. But, Dave, let's get this thing started with Alabama, Tennessee. That is the big game. This one opened up 7.5, 65.5. We're seeing the Bama money come in now. Cedric Tillman out. Bryce Young in. I don't know, Saban's not going to announce it until they get out on the field, which is fine. But Bryce Young's going to play in this game. If you listen to Saban throughout the week, he seems like he's not in any pain anymore. So I don't see any reason he wouldn't be out in the field. And the line reflects that, right? Bama money coming in, opened at 7.5. There's 9s on the board now. We're seeing 8.5. And Dave, this is a game that, where I think the line moves warranted. I'm on Alabama here. I got them at 7. I know that Alabama on the road has not looked its best. I know the defense looked a little shaky against Texas A&M, but I just think that this is a spot to where they can take advantage of the Tennessee defense. The Tennessee defense outside of the top 100 in success rate. The secondary's bad. Really bad. And I think Alabama is going to continue to roll. I think you're going to get a big offensive performance out of Alabama here. And I want to get your opinion. Like, how much stock do you put into some of the struggles we've seen them on the road this year? We saw them struggle against A&M, came down to the last play against Haynes King, who sucks, right? So, I thought that was a little surprising. But what's your take here on Alabama and Tennessee?
Yeah, I do think the line move's warranted. I think it was early in the week. And even if we looked at some of the tickets today, I would still garner to say that Tennessee's probably getting more of the tickets, maybe not more of the money. Alabama looking not so well last couple of weeks. And then Tennessee just, this atmosphere, everything that's going on down there with College game day, I think they're going to be a pretty heavy public side. So I think the line move's warranted. I think Alabama is the better team by a decent margin too. I know it's crazy to think because he's having a great year, but I've never been a Hooker guy.
No, I haven't either. Yeah.
I know he's 25. I mean, really, he's 24, but so he's old man and he's played a lot of college ball. But I'm not sure he can go out there and beat Alabama. He's got still some decent receivers. Don't get me wrong. Tillman's going to be a huge loss. But they're going to have to be able to run the ball, which I don't think they can. And then they're going to have to rely on the arm of Hooker, which is where I think Alabama really, feasts. So as long as Bryce Young's playing, I like this number under 10. And I think he's going to play. Saban's calling him a pitcher injury, right? He's just got to be able to have enough, juice in that arm, and they feel like he has. So he's going to play. Just saw him on game day. It's going to happen. And if Bryce Young's playing, it changes everything. It changes the run game too, right? Gibbs has been great, but he's a great receiver as well. So I think they can really, stretch this field both east, west, and vertically. So, man, I like Bama too. I'm with you.
Yeah, definitely. Guys, fill up the comments. Let us know if you're on Bama or on Tennessee. We're on Bama here. We think it's roll tide.
Where are you at?
It's a big number.
Yeah, like now, you said you got it at 7. Like, where would you be comfortable?
Oh, I'm comfortable now at 8.5 and 9. Anything under 10. Yeah, I'm not going to do 10 on the road. Like, I would be a layoff, but I would lay this number with Alabama right now. I think that, it's a game where if you look at that, even when Tennessee has the ball, right? And listen, Heupel's offense, prolific. They're going to push the ball down the field with Tillman, without Tillman. That's what they're going to do. They're going to run plays at a fast clip. They're going to get after you. But the Alabama pass rush is going to get home. Now, the secondary hasn't looked great, right? But, I think that, when they're able to just get home with their pass rush, it kind of, frees you up to do some different things in coverage. And I think that they can kind of force Tennessee to matriculate down the field and really make Hooker be consistent and beat them, under pressure with people in their face. And I just think that the bigger advantage is on the other side of the ball. Like Bryce Young, he took the week off last week. The fact that Saban said he's not experiencing pain lets me know that he's pretty close to 100%. And, I just think that this is a game that they have circled. Like, this is a huge game. Reminds me a little bit of Alabama Ole Miss last year. Lane Kiffin was like, get your popcorn ready. And then, Alabama reeled off 4 touchdowns on them in the first quarter.
Yep.
I think it's
4. They almost beat them, right? In that crazy 50-48 game, something wild. So they all thought that was going to be a game. I agree. It feels like that.
Yeah. And I honestly think in that game, Ole Miss came back and got the backdoor cover, if I remember correctly. I'm not sure. But Bama clearly the better side. Yeah. Well, that's the other point is this game, I feel like before this season, now I don't have the numbers off, but it had to be at least 2 touchdowns before the season started, right?
Yeah.
This line, I would think, and Tennessee was projected to be good, but it's still I think any team outside of the top 3, Alabama is going to lay 2 touchdowns on it in a regular season game like this. So I just think Alabama is that much better. I think a lot of people look at it and are like, oh, this is a big number for, Tennessee's really good. But there are levels to this. There is Alabama, Ohio State, and Georgia, and then there's a cliff. And then you get into Clemson and everybody else, right? You know what I mean? And that's just the reality of how college football is right now. Whether it's right, I guess we're going to find out today at 3:30. But it's going to be a fascinating matchup. But I am laying the points. We're going heavy chalk here with Alabama. And if I were to lean to the game to a side, I think that, 66 is a big number. I don't know. I'd probably go over, but I don't love it. I like the side a lot more than the total.
Yeah, I lean over as well. And just one, food for thought. Last time that, we had 2 top 10 teams playing when in Alabama, Tennessee. Alabama won 48-10. That was back in 2016 or 49-10, something like that. When they're ready,
I just
Watch it.
feel like Saban seems focused, man. And like I
Yeah.
thought it was going to happen last week and it didn't. And then maybe I'm like chasing a ghost here, but I think it does happen today. I
Well,
think it's a statement game from Alabama.
Milrow brings a lot of like you
Yeah.
just can't. Yeah,
It's hard.
like I
Yeah.
can't.
The
Like
defense wasn't great. Like they
it
let,
wasn't.
I mean, they went to sleep in that game. Like
But
you can't, Haynes King sucks. Like you can't let Haynes King do that.
no, I agree. But like with Milrow, you can't cover any spread above 7 with him. Like that offense is
Right.
so watered down and so bad.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that was the factor. But I agree. Haynes King like ripped it on him a few drives. That
Yeah.
won't happen
Yeah,
today.
well, they almost gave the game away. It almost came too
Wow.
late,
Yeah,
and
down
then
at
the
the
refs
3.
started throwing flags and, the people were secondaries holding people. The flags were warranted, but it was just, kind of crazy. But
Yep.
all right, so let's move on. We got we might not be bigger games. We got
Yeah.
other games we got bets on, but we are roll tide. I think they open up a can here at Rocky Top and they cruise to a victory here. So let's move on now. I know, Dave, you got a best bet over in the Big Ten. I love Big Ten football. I've been dialed in all year. I think we're aligned here. Let the people know what you got.
Listen, this isn't Philly Homer, but it is the closest big school I would say to us. I don't count Rutgers, but I count Penn State because we are. And that's right. Penn State travels out to Michigan today, 12 o'clock, early game for a huge Big Ten game, 2 top 10 teams. James Franklin has not been very good against top 10 opponents. I think he's 0-8. It might even be against top 15. And they're not great coming off bye in James Franklin time. I think they're 8-19 ATS. So, things don't really necessarily align for a Penn State team going to the big house today, but I still like them. And I'm going to take them with the points plus the 7. There's a little bit of a script going on here. And for me, Penn State's played the more, I guess, tougher schedule, I'll say. The opening game against Purdue, they could have lost, but they found a way to fight back. Clifford had a good last-minute drive. They win the game. Purdue has shown to be a very good team this year. Purdue, just won last week in Maryland, won earlier in Minnesota. So that's a good win. And then the win at Auburn, 41-12, was really solid. Yeah, they've struggled lately. They squeaked out Northwestern before the bye. Got it. That was kind of that monsoon, too. It wasn't great weather. But let's look on the flip side. Michigan played the 3 worst teams in college football in a row: Colorado State, Hawaii, and UConn. Now, I know UConn has won 1 or 2 in a row, but they're all bottom 10 teams in the 130 teams in the division. And that does them no good when getting ready for games like they're going to have this week. They struggled a little with Indiana last week. And now they're up against a team that's top 5 in rushing defense in the league. And that's really where I key this game. Penn State allowing less than 80 yards a game. That's where Michigan has to get it done, because I don't think you can still rely on J.J. McCarthy. I think Bell has a very good game for them. But, eventually I think this just comes down to a very tough – I don't even like a lot of points in this game. I know it's 51, but I just think they stay within the number and possibly pull off the upset in the big house. I'll take the Nittany Lions plus the 7.
Yeah, I love it. I actually got this one at 7.5 on Saturday night. It's awesome. That's what they opened it up at. I think it was over at FanDuel or whatnot. But I agree with you. I'm aligned with you 100%. I think Penn State, great spot for them. You hit the nail on the head. You talked about the rushing defense. I think it's going to come down to really who can get the big plays in the rushing game. I think that's going to be Penn State. I think Nick Singleton is number 1 in the country, tied for number 1 with explosive rushes of 30-plus yards or more. So I think in a game like this, Big Ten game, field position is going to be huge. I think that's a factor also because, it's going to come down to the quarterbacks, right? And so then you're like, well, why the hell are you backing Penn State? They have the worst quarterback in Clifford. McCarthy, obviously the more talented guy, right? Arm like a hose. But listen, McCarthy's fumbled the ball. He's turned the ball over a little bit, right? And I think part of that is when you're a young quarterback, and you feel pressure that you have to make these big plays, it can go south. And I think that that's what Penn State's going to be able to do is I think they'll get the bigger plays in the rushing game with Singleton, and that's going to help Clifford just kind of play within the offense, right? And really take advantage of the intermediate field, attack the Michigan linebackers through the passing game. And I think that, as long as Clifford doesn't feel like he has to be the hero, I think they're okay. Like the offense runs good enough to kind of get points against Michigan. When he has to be the hero, like last year, when they couldn't run the ball worth a lick, then it's a big problem, right? But I don't think we're going to see that today. I think, they're going to be able to put points on the board. I like this a little bit as an over game too. I think both teams score. But I think, McCarthy is going to be the quarterback that kind of coughs it up and kind of like caves under the pressure today, not Clifford. So it might be a little bit of a hot take, but I like Penn State there. I think Nick Singleton's going to have a big day for the running game. And I like the Knits, man. That's the play. Take the points. So we got heavy chalk. We got a nice dog there. So I like we got a nice mix to start off the day.
I like it. And the point about Clifford is real. I mean, I think last year, and it might be in his first 4 years, he was a down the field thrower, and it wasn't very good at it. And this year, he's cut it by almost like 30-40%. And he's more of a check down. That's fine. Tinsley's a decent receiver, and you can get these backs. I mean, you talked about Singleton. He's 7.3 yards per carry, but he's good out of the backfield catching too. So I think they just do enough to, like you say, get the big explosive plays, chip away, hang in this one. They got embarrassed last year. I think they bounced back well.
Yeah, definitely. I know a lot of people are on both sides of this one. If you want to know the percentage of bets, percentage of tickets, money, go to the Sharp app. The link is below. They have all that. You'll get our AI prediction models. You can see how much, money the handle is on a certain team. You can see how much of the bets are on a certain team. All that information is there on the Sharp app. Plus, like I said, you get the AI prediction model for each game. So tons of good stuff. Hit the link down below. Join the Discord as well. We'll be in there sweating out those bets today. But Sharp app, you got to get it. You got to download it. Dave, let's move on to this second game. This is another one I want to discuss. Now, I gave this one out on Yahoo. I'm going against your boys a little bit here, but Clemson -4.5 at SFU. We got a total of 51. This one opened at 5.5. We saw the Seminole money start to pour in after they almost beat NC State. But now we're seeing a little buyback on the Clemson side. We're seeing it extend out from 3.5 to 4.5 over that key number. I agree with that. I got a 3.5 earlier in the week. I would play it at 4.5. I think this is a tremendous matchup for Clemson, Dave. I think when you look at Florida State, what is their biggest weakness? It's the offensive line, right? They're 71st in the country in line yards, sack rate allowed, bottom of the pack. So they're an offensive line that really struggles. We saw that against NC State. They got shut out in the second half of the game. They lost that game 19-17, threw the big interception at the end of the game. But really, it's Jordan Travis can only do so much when he's running for his life. And I think that's the problem. So now you're playing Clemson, one of the most ferocious defensive lines in college football. They get Brian Brzee back. They get Xavier Thomas back. This is really the first time they get a ton of guys back in the secondary. This is really the first time all season that this defense is healthy. And now they're going up against a very vulnerable Florida State team. I get home field advantage. I understand Tallahassee's a hard place to play, but I think this number's short. I think DJ's done a great job this year. He's one of the top in the nation. I think he's like top 3 in big time throws over at PFF. But you're seeing him into key situations, whether it's using his legs or using his arm, to squeeze through tight windows, or using his legs to kind of extend drives to get first downs. You're seeing him make those big plays when it counts. And on the other side of the coin, you're seeing Jordan Travis not be able to make those plays, right? We saw that last week against really elite competition against tough defenses, right? And I think we're going to see that today. I think the defense is just all over Jordan Travis. I don't think Florida State scores much in this contest. Clemson scored 30 plus in all their games, including their 4 conference games, right? So, I think that they're going to put their score in the 30s in this matchup. I think that's going to be way enough to cover this number at 4.5. I don't know if Florida State gets to 20, the way the Clemson defense is going to be playing finally healthy. So I think this is a smash spot for Clemson. I love them here against Florida State. Want to get your opinion knowing that you're a Florida State fan.
Yeah, I mean, top-notch analysis there. The one thing that, has always concerned us as a Florida State fan is their ability to win close games. And they, their inability, I should say, to win close games, because that's really what it comes down to. And when the season started and you win on a blocked extra point, you're like, whoa, this might change. Then you go to Louisville and you have this miracle win late in the game because you shut down Malik Cunningham in the offense, and you win by 3 after throwing away a couple of field goals, and you feel like, oh man, this is our year. And then comes Wake, and you blow that game. Then comes last week, even worse. I think at one point up 17-0, 17-3, something like that, but got shut out in the second half. And it's just, that's my concern here, and probably the reason I can't take the points. I want to. I think Florida State is live in this game. I'm actually a little different than you from the point scoring perspective. I go back to
Mhm.
Wake, and I saw how easily Wake moved the ball against Clemson. NC State actually moved it real well. I know they're getting back and a little more healthy, but Brees did play in the Wake game, or Bressie, I forget how you
Mhm.
say,
Brazil.
yeah,
It's like
one of the top
Brazil,
linemen.
yeah.
Yeah, one of the top
Yep.
linemen in the country and will be drafted potentially in the top 10. I get it. But in the end, I think Florida State will move the ball. I think they'll stay close, but they're bad in close games. And that's why I don't feel comfortable with the points. So I'm going to lay off that and defer to you. But I would lean a little bit to the over. I like what you're talking about with Clemson's O. And I think Florida State will be able to get the ball in the end zone a few times with Johnny Wilson matching up against smaller cornerbacks. But, when I say a couple of times, I'm talking low 20s for them.
Yeah,
Mid
yeah.
20s.
And then I think the Clemson offense, the biggest thing I think we learned this year is the Clemson offense is better than last year. Like, this isn't last year where Clemson can't move
Right.
the ball. Like, Clemson's going to score points in this matchup. Like I said, 30 plus every game, 30 plus against all conference opponents, including NC State, who, Florida State couldn't put anything on the board against last week. So,
Yep.
I think it's going to be a fun game. I'm on Clemson. Like I said, 4.5, I think is good. I think, as long as it stays under 6, I think we're good here with Clemson. I think they dominate. More road chalk from me. We'll see how that plays out. But, let's move on to your second best bet, Dave. I know you got another one in the holster. And, we're going to go over, we're going to stay in the SEC with Arkansas BYU. What's your take on this one?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the BYU Cougars. I mean, I watched the game earlier in the season when they played Baylor, a big revenge game, and that place was rocking. I think it will be rocking again today. Bringing an SEC school isn't a typical thing for BYU, and here they go. They have their chance against Arkansas, and I think they're going to be there, and they're going to be loud, and it's going to be effective, and it's going to be the force in this game. BYU, they're getting back a lot of the pieces in the past game. Puka's back. I know he hasn't really been focused yet, only 4 catches so far in the season, but, playing Notre Dame can be tough, right? At least they play tough defensively still. So, a lot of what we saw last week, even though they hung in the game for a while, eventually Notre Dame pulled away, was an effect about Notre Dame's, home crowd and their good pass defense. But today they play a team that's ranked 100th in pass defense in the NCAA. And I think they're, Gunnar Romney's back. I think Hall's going to have a good day. And I think if they're able to move the ball through the air and really put pressure on Arkansas's best, weapon is their running game. And in this one, BYU doesn't have a great rush defense, allows 170 per game. Got it. But you can't use the running game as much as you want to if the other team's throwing it down your throat and taking a lead. And I think that's what's going to happen today. I like BYU to be fired up for this one, be able to move the ball in the air against a really bad Arkansas defense, and to win this one. And you got a short line, -1. So I'll take BYU today over Arkansas.
Nice. I like it, man, because I'll tell you what, we talked about Arkansas week in, week out on this show. That secondary is trash. And,
Yes.
BYU can get healthy here, score, I think, put up a big number. And then it turns into, like, is Arkansas going to be able to, stay with, and keep up with them and keep pace with them? And I'm not so sure. I mean, I just think Arkansas a little overrated. Again, everyone's like, they should have won the Texas A&M game. Probably should have, didn't.
Yeah.
Probably speaks more.
Got to make that. Yeah.
Yeah. Got to make it. But a lot of people have to, you can't fumble the ball at the 1 yard line too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, they made a lot of mistakes. I like BYU here. I think that's a solid call as well. Let's go over to the Pac-12. This is a game, Dave. There's no game that I'm more interested in than this game because there are so many narratives going on with this game. The USC Trojans +3.5 at Utah, total 65. This one opened at 3, 59.5. And I don't understand why Utah's favored in this one. And I know people talk about the home field advantage. I think that this is a perfect example. I could be dead wrong. I could have egg on my face. I could lose a lot of money on this one. I think this is a perfect example where the books are just wrong. And they're just rating this team, this Utah team, like it's last year's Utah team. And they're just like, oh, well, you know what? They do all this stuff at home. They're tough. They're going to be tough up front. They're not tough up front. They got steamrolled last year. The run defense stinks. Florida ran all over them. Thomas is not the same as the running back. Sure, Cam Rising's good. He's got no weapons. So, like, I don't understand the love that Utah is getting in this spot, laying this number against the USC team that's probably, the best team in the Pac-12, right? On board. Now, granted, USC's had a lot of problems stopping the run. The defenses look better the past couple of weeks. The offense really is kind of, not been as explosive as it's been earlier in the season. But when I look at these teams getting points with USC here, I think it's a buy. And maybe I'm a sucker. Maybe I'm buying the cheese, but I think that this Utah team is not as good as USC. And I think home field advantage can only take you so far unless these guys are like coming out of the stands and tackling Travis Dye, because that's what Utah needs. They need somebody to tackle a running back because they haven't showed the ability to do that all year. I think, USC runs the ball here with effectiveness. That opens everything else up for them. I think it's USC here. I don't understand the love for Utah. I don't get it. I feel like every time they talk about this team, they talk about other teams that have played in the past, not this year's Utah team. What are your thoughts? Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm crazy. I'm going to lose my money.
Well, I here's the thing. You look at a lot of the advanced rankings, SP Plus and some others, they all have Utah favored. They all have them as a better team. They're 10th in SP Plus. USC is 24th. So I get where the books are at. I do. Coming into the season, Utah was the higher ranked team. Yeah, they got shredded, versus the better team so far. That last week, they let up 7 plays of more than 20 yards. It was a clinic. Chip was a clinic last week. DTR was amazing, but there were also some plays where they had some stupid penalties. They had UCLA shut down, penalty on 4th down, let them go drive the field and touchdown. So I do think Utah is actually the better team here. I think, I do. USC is plus 14 in turnover differential. Tell me a season that you've seen a team plus 14, because I'll tell you one, it was last year, Iowa, and we bet against them every game on the way down. We won. They've created 15 turnovers, only turned it over once. This is a loud, tight crowd here. I think it's a tough situation. I can't see them continually finding, 14 interceptions or 15 interceptions, something like that this year. 12. You might get one today off Rising, but that's been the key in USC this year. I think Utah's a little deflated. I do, but I think this is the kind of opponent that gets them back up on their feet. I kind of like Utah today. I'm not saying I'm going to play it, and I respect your pick. This is USC's national championship until they play UCLA. So we'll see what they're ready for. And I get where you're coming from. I just do think Utah is better, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think a lot of people harp on this turnover thing, and I understand it's real, and I understand that there's going to be a regression at some point, right? But when you play, non-conference teams that aren't very good, like, you're going to get turnover. And they got some lucky turnovers against Oregon State. Like, I'm not saying that didn't happen. But I guess my point is if there are no turnovers, I think the Trojans beat them. Like, I don't think the Trojans need turnovers to win this game. I think they run the ball down their throat with Travis Dye. That opens up things in the passing attack. I think Utah is very soft on both sides of the ball in the trenches.
They looked it.
And I think USC is going to be able to dominate them there. So if they can't win in the trenches, if Utah can't, like, how do they win the game? They don't have any wide receivers. They got no playmakers on offense. Tavion Thomas does not look the same as he looked last year. Like, he's not the same guy. You know what I mean? So, like, I guess that's kind of like my point is like, I don't know what is valuable about Utah except the fact that the crowd's going to yell a lot. And, like, that's okay. Like, I get it. There's a million people in that stadium. Like, I totally get that. But I just don't see how you can lay points at Utah here. Like, I don't. They got to show me more. Maybe tonight is, the night that they show me more. But, like, I'm just not a fan of Utah. And I loved them coming into the year. I said, listen, I thought Utah and I thought Oregon was live to win the Pac-12. Did not buy into TCU, who I think is live now to win the Big 12. But I just think that this team, like, when you're soft, man. And this Utah team is soft.
Yeah, I'll say I do think they have weapons in the pass game. I think that kid Kincaid is a really good player. He's their tight end. And I do think Cam Rising is really good. He's hard to guard, as we saw in the Rose Bowl last year. If you haven't seen much Utah, he's done more since then. But I know you have. I'm just saying out loud. I think Cam Rising, I'd argue he's right there with Caleb Williams. So it's gonna be a game that tells me a lot. right? It's going to be a game
Yeah.
that, for me, I don't know what USC is. I'm sorry, I don't, because of the turnover differential and the competition they played, and I'll know more today. I'll know it just like UCLA last week. I wasn't sure I knew what UCLA was. I know now.
Mhm.
That's a top
Yeah.
10 football team. Like,
Well,
they're good.
Utah found out who they were, right?
Yeah, right.
Charbonnet had 200 yards rushing at 9 yards a carry. Not so. Like, what do we think Travis Dye is going to do? Like, that's
Well,
kind
it's
of
a
like my
different runner.
point. Is like,
It's a
is it?
different.
Huh?
It's a different runner.
Yeah.
They run a little differently.
Yeah. I mean, listen. I think he's going to. I think Travis Dye is going to feast in this
Yeah.
matchup. New Jersey concert crashers coming in. Utah finishes at home. Yeah, but they haven't finished at home against a team that was better than them. They couldn't even finish in Florida. So like I don't know. I don't love the team. But maybe it's a blind spot. It's very possible. But this is, like I said, I'm so off from the market on this game that like I know that I'm probably wrong and the answer is probably somewhere in the middle, but I am 100% fascinated to see this game.
Yes.
Like
Yeah, I'm with
I
you.
cannot wait to see it, man, because I just think this Utah love is out of control. Like I've seen nothing to warrant that. Like, Florida stinks. Couldn't beat Missouri. Could hardly beat Missouri. Lost to South Florida. You know what I mean? And they, and they couldn't win down there. So I
Yeah,
don't
and
know.
that was definitely a horrible pass at the goal line. I'm with you. I'm just not on this game. I'm just telling you
Mhm.
my perspective. So I'm
Yeah,
just
I don't love it.
yeah.
I I understand that there's like I'm probably too high on USC and too low on Utah, and the answer is probably somewhere in the middle. Like I think the books are the opposite. Like I think
Yeah.
it's, you know what I mean. I get that. This is not my favorite game of the day. Like this is
Yeah,
not
yeah.
my largest stake in the game. I just think from like a fan perspective or from a bettor's perspective, like I'm fascinated because I disagree with the market so much on here. So like I can't, that doesn't mean we push all our chips in, right? But because it's a lot, we're going to find out a whole bunch about USC today. I feel
Yeah, we are.
if they get down there and they get their ass kicked, like Big 12's wide open. I mean, Pac 12's wide open. You know what I mean? So
No,
I don't know.
I
Huge
don't
Caleb
disagree.
Williams game. Like if he doesn't show up today, like he's not going to win the Heisman. Like he's not going to be close. It's going to be Stroud. Unless Hooker wins today, but Hooker's probably not going to. I don't think they win.
Right.
But yeah, I can't wait to see this game, dude. This is the one game that I've circled that I want to watch. So it's gonna be fun. Gonna be a fun one. Dave, I know you got another one lined up. You got another best bet for the people before we get out of
Yeah.
here?
I'm going to sneak in the American real fast. There, you got two teams that look like they're dead even in Memphis and ECU. And even if you want to look at like common opponents, which is not really the best way to, ever, handicap a game. But I mean, Memphis played Navy and they beat Navy 37-13 in Annapolis, where ECU played them and lost in double overtime. But today, and that's a difference right there, 24 and 3, 27-point difference between one common opponent. Yet today, ECU's favored by 6 points over the Memphis Tigers. It kind of seems weird. It kind of seems, in a situation that I had to dig into it a little more. And then when we saw what Memphis did against Houston last week, a team that was just left out there in that back alleys for waste, and losing that game. And then you understand that they're 109th in success rate allowed through the air. And I like what ECU has done. Like they lost to Tulane last week. Tulane is a very, very good football team that not a lot of people talk about. I think they're 5-1 this year. Yeah, they're good, right? They lost 24-9 and battled. They lost early in the season because their kicker missed like a 5-yard field goal to NC State, 21-20. Ehlers has been there a while. I think there's something sneaky about this game, but I think Memphis coming off that emotional loss to Houston, ECU playing the tougher of the schedule so far to open up and being a pretty good pass team. I think Ehlers opens it up. I think they expose Memphis's pass game or pass defense. And I like ECU to cover these 6 points in this game. I'll take the Pirates, baby, to cover over the Tigers.
I like it. Laying the 6 points with the Pirates. So your three best bets: PSU, BYU, and ECU. Right?
Just give me the acronyms. I'm good.
Just give me all the letters. We're doing alphabet soup today. PSU, BYU, ECU. Love it. The games I talked about on Alabama, on Clemson laying chalk, and then I'm taking the dog. I'm not doing the chalk in the Pac-12. I'm taking USC, a game that I'm very interested in. Like I can't wait to see this because I maybe I'm off on Utah. I don't know, but I think that they're tiny. I think Utah's real tiny. I don't know if Utah's better than Oregon,
Oh, my
to be
man.
honest with you, but
Concert
huh?
Crashers is women.
Is he back? Is he crashing me? Yeah.
He's back.
Oh, on ECU spread. Nice. Love it.
Yeah,
Absolutely
you got it.
love
I mean, there's some things. I mean, I look at the rush success rate. ECU's defense is 24th in rush success rate. Memphis likes to run the ball, 66 in the nation. So yeah, I'm liking that game. I will tell you another one, Drums. We didn't talk about real fast. This other huge undefeated matchup. We've hit the first two, right?
Yeah.
This Oklahoma State TCU game is really exciting for me. I think it's a game for me. I lean towards the Horned Frogs. I just think the Spencer Sanders whipping around the field. I mean, it's worked, right? I guess, but I just can't see how you can keep getting away with that. Last year, Gundy's success was really based upon his front four and a good defensive backfield, and really tried to play slower games. And this year, they're just like, we're going to whip around the park, right? And I thought Baylor was going to be that team that exposed them. We saw what Baylor was Thursday night, letting up 43 to West Virginia. So roll on Baylor having a good defense, right? So now you bring in TCU with this dynamic offense. I can't believe how good it is with Dugan running around and being able to throw the ball to Quentin Williams. I think they're going to give Oklahoma State a taste of their medicine. It is going to be a high-scoring game, but I think for once, Oklahoma State's probably not going to be able to keep up with someone.
Yeah, I laid it with the Frogs. So I like TCU. TCU is one of my favorite teams now.
They are.
Like,
it's Sonny Dykes, right?
Yeah, and listen, and if you heard Sonny Dykes talking about Max Duggan this week, it was awesome. Like, talked about like his leadership and how he like went through, and like he kind of like related to him as his son, and like Sonny Dykes got real emotional talking about Max Duggan this week and kind of like what he's been able to do, through adversity. And I love, like, you talked about the Cowboys defense, like that secondary stinks. Like they can't cover anybody, and that's really the key, right? So Oklahoma State, worst passing defense in the Big 12. They're the worst, right? So now they're going up against TCU, who scores whenever they want. Like you said, Quentin Johnson, huge game. You said Williams, but Quentin Johnson, huge 206 yards last week. So now that
finally.
He's like, they're getting him a big part of the offense. Like, you're going to see them lean on him. Like, they're going to score whenever they want in this matchup, and Oklahoma State's going to score too. Like, these teams, I think the total's in the like high 60s, might be 70 by now. Yeah, so it makes a world of sense. But I just think that if you look at TCU at home, right, played 2 games. I think they scored like 59 points against some like non-con, like, garbage team. And then they scored 55 against Oklahoma. Like they're going to score points, man.
They let up versus Oklahoma. They had like 49.
Yeah. Oh, they could have. I was talking to Adam Rosenberg about this from over at Better Collective last night. And it's funny you brought that up, because I said that we were talking about this game. And I said, if there is incentive for TCU to score 100 points in that game against Oklahoma, right? Because we're kind of talking about that and talking about Kansas, Oklahoma. And I was like, they would have done it. Like, they could have scored 100 points against Oklahoma in that game. Like, if they came down at halftime and said, hey, listen, guys, if you score 100, we're going to put you in the college football playoffs, they would have put up 102. Like, I have no doubt in my mind they could have scored whenever they wanted against Oklahoma. 41 points in the first half. That Oklahoma defense is garbage. I can't believe they're laying 9 points against Kansas. That's another.
No, I can't either. But I won't touch it because I don't get it. Like,
I took it because I don't care. Like, you can't lay 9 points when every team scores 1,000 on you. You can't lay 9 points. Like, I don't care. That's the handicap. That's it. Like, I know Bean's there. I know Daniels is out.
Bean looked better.
All I have to do is run the ball. Yeah,
but
he did look good. But he's gonna turn the ball over too. So you're gonna lose field. That's just part of the package in him. But I just thought 9 points is too much. But back to TCU, I love them. I think it's really a great matchup for them being at home. If Oklahoma State might be a different story, but at home, I think TCU rolls today for sure.
Nice. Now I just got to get you on my Utes and we're good.
Can't do it, man. And I'll tell you what, there are a lot of people, and I think this is why, like, I think this is why I'm so like excited about the game is because so many people I respect are on Utah. They're just like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, this makes sense, 3.5. And I'm like, what have I been watching all year? Like, I don't understand where it's coming. Like, Pam Maldonado had some incredible stats that just talked about like really like the splits between Utah from when they play at home and when they play at
Yes.
road, right?
They
Like
won by 40 at
defensively,
home.
even their defense
Yeah.
is much better. Like they're much better at home. I don't buy it. Like, I don't like what are they gonna do? Like eat their Wheaties? Like, I don't like they're soft. Like they're a
They were
soft team.
undefeated at
Soft
home
team.
last year. Like they beat
Yep.
everybody at home, man. You come there,
But they don't have those players up front anymore. Like that's
they
kind of
got
like my whole point is like how much is home field advantage? And we're gonna find out. But that's
well,
really
yeah.
like
I worry about, and tell me if I mean probably didn't put this, and maybe it's not a big factor, but like just the fact that Lincoln Riley has never played there, and there is some altitude. I mean, does
yeah,
that play into it at all? Like,
it
maybe
could.
right? Yeah,
It could. It
a
could.
little. Yeah,
Um I think it will definitely if USC can't stop the Utah running game, then I think
yeah.
it's going to cause some problems, right? But even if it's to me, if it's like, all right, this thing turns into a shootout and both offenses are doing what they want, like I'll still take USC. Like
Yeah, I agree with
I,
that. I don't think
I
Utah wins a game where USC scores
no,
more than 24
they
or
have to be
22
like
points.
efficient. They got to win 10 yards at a time, and so I don't know, like and everyone points to the Oregon State game, and I get it, you know what I mean, but like I don't know. Was that the wake up call, or was that
Well,
is
I'll
that the
tell you.
norm for USC?
Oh, you're saying the Oregon State USC game?
Yeah. So everyone points
Okay.
to that and says, well, that's what we should expect from USC on the road every time. And
Yeah,
I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't think so. Like, I think that was
they
kind of like the
outgained
wake
them.
up call. You know what I mean? Like, hey, like, we really got to be ready, and that kind of prepares them to play in a hostile environment. So I don't know. Like I said, it's like me against the world on this. So like I'm cool with it, but like I I'm fascinated to see if I'm like crazy and just missing something everyone else is seeing. But I just think this home field advantage is just being way overvalued with Utah.
It's gonna be fun, man. Hey, and I
It's going to
love
be
being,
ton. I can't
I love,
wait. I
but
can't.
I love being a man on the one side of the fence and the Army on the other.
I'll
It
tell you what's
works
going to
a lot of
happen.
time.
I'll tell you what's going to happen. USC is going to get out to like a huge lead, and I'm going to be like lighting everyone up on Twitter, like just doing
Don't do
victory
it.
laps, and then they're gonna blow it, and then Utah's going to come back and win by 4. That's exactly what's going to happen.
All right,
That's
so
how
you
it
just
happens
told
all
me
the
my
time.
strategy. My strategy is in-game Utah. All right, I
Live
got
bet
you.
Utah. Live
Yeah,
bet
yeah.
Utah for sure. It's after I send the tweets. When I send the
I'll wait
tweets,
for the
we
tweet.
live bet Utah for
I'm in.
100% sure.
Smash.
But guys, listen, we appreciate everybody tuning in. It's going to be a phenomenal. Where there's so many awesome games that we didn't even hit on. Wisconsin, Michigan State. No, I'm kidding. Wisconsin sucks.
No.
But so many. Michigan State. Gosh, I mean, that's a shame what's happening.
LSU,
That was a game
Florida.
I almost fired on Wisconsin, but I didn't. LSU, Florida. Listen, you guys need to take a nap. Put that one on.
Yeah.
Watch Jalen Daniels drop back. But yeah, no, there's I mean, the slate today is just incredible all the way down the board. Huge games in all 5 conferences. Listen, we appreciate all you guys checking in. Eric hitting us up with some UFC bets there. Grasso 4th and 5th round decision. Martinez round 3. Like those plays on both those guys. Hope you're talking about my guy Mana Martinez. But think the Jonathan Martinez Cub Swanson fight stuff. Huge UFC card. Our guy Eric always checking in with that stuff. We appreciate you, brother. But Emil and Grasso, Emil Martinez. So hopefully we're right on the right side there with 2 winners. But listen, we appreciate everybody tuning in. We will see you guys next week, hopefully with fatter pockets. Hopefully these bets cash. Hopefully the Trojans win so I don't look like a fool. But listen, we will be back. More action next week. Can't wait. So download the Sharp app. Get in the Discord. Sweat these games out. We appreciate you. I'm Mark Drumheller. This is Dave Gleckner from Win Daily Sports. Check out all his stuff over there. And let's go watch some college football and rake in some cash. We'll see you guys next week.
Go Phils.